This is the second reporting of this. Dr. Steve Turley reported on this this past week or past couple days ago that this guy that has had, 22 successful presidential predictions since 1910, he says that Trump has a 91% chance of winning. This guy's been pretty right on, and I believe he's going to be correct again.
Remember, Truman is the guy holding the newspaper that says Dewey wins. They were that confident. Now there is somebody else who's saying a similar thing. He brought up the Truman-Dewey thing, but his model, the primary model is what it's called, that he came up with in 1995 and has predicted correctly all of the presidential candidates since 1995. He's giving Donald Trump a 91% chance of winning in November. He said that over the last 108 years, he ran the same model. He takes all of the opinion polls out. He doesn't care about opinion polls. All he cares about is how excited is the base for the candidate. He says because Biden has nothing going on for him except the opinion polls. But when you actually talk to people, everybody's like, I don't want to vote for that guy. I mean, I'm going to vote for him, but is there anybody else? He says because of the way he performed in the early primaries is what his calculation always takes into account. He says that Donald Trump is going to win handily in the Electoral College and actually win with a bigger spread this time.
Wow. Oh, I mean, it's not impossible.
A bigger spread this time. Think about that. Doesn't surprise me. And this guy's been right on. He's done his model since 1910, and it's been accurate. So you get rid of these stupid opinion polls and go into what actually is happening in the primaries. He says it's accurate.
I think a lot of what you said, those things do align. I would still give him less than a 91% chance of winning the election at this point.
Yeah. Okay,
but
here it comes. Here it comes.
No, look.
No.
I think
here it comes. He's going to rain on our parade. You're going to hush my mellow. I got it.
I would point out, first of all, when you have an early primary model, which is when you have those early early elections that happen before a global pandemic, and then a global pandemic happens, I do think that it's going to be tough to take historical
and a revolution.
Precedent. Yeah, and on top of
We've never had this. We've never had this. I mean, I think the closest we've ever come to this kind of situation is the Civil War. I mean, you just can't predict this at all because I don't think they're done. Everything has been so well coordinated that I have no idea what they have planned for the fall, but they're not going to be sitting on their hands.
Right. And, there is I think that's the reason why people are overlooking Trump right now. It's this idea of, well, his polls look terrible. Well, frankly, they do look terrible, and they look worse than they did against Clinton. And it's not really all that close. That being said, how many things has, Donald Trump even said about Joe Biden? Like, there's no passion against Joe Biden right now because no one has done anything to show him even in a negative light. Donald Trump's done, 3 campaign speeches so far? We've seen no development of this campaign. So right now what you have is a lot of people with a lot of passion for Donald Trump and a lot of people with a lot of passion against Donald Trump. I mean, certainly this election is going to, at its core, be a referendum on the way that Donald Trump has handled his first 4 years as a president. He's a big enough personality that it's going to be impossible to make this election about Joe Biden entirely. But still, all he has to do is keep it close. And once people start really thinking about this, looking at Joe Biden, watching him have these moments where he can't remember the most basic thing or pronounce the most basic word, it's going to change, I think, a little bit. And we know that Trump brings pressure. And who knows what Joe Biden does under that sort of pressure.
Do you believe that Joe Biden will be able to get away with not having a debate? I mean, I think that's what they're going for right now.
And they're
trying
smart
to
to do
say
it.
all these conditions.
Smart.
They're very smart to do it. But do you really think at this time, the most important election, this one really is? This one is. This is the end of the road for the Republic, I think. Do we really not have any debates between the two people vying for the job of running our country for the next 4 years? We just say, nah, we don't need a debate. Really?
Obviously don't think that's the right way to approach it. But if you take yourself out of it and put yourself as a Democratic campaign aide, you do everything you could to keep these two away from each other and not on the stage at the same time.
What I'm asking you is, will the average American accept that?
Under normal circumstances, I would say no. I think the one worry you'd have if you're the Trump administration is that people, because Donald Trump is such a big personality and so many people have had their mind made up on him already, there's less of a concern about what the alternative is. And that's a scary thing to say. But I really don't think there is at least 45% of this country that sits back and says, I don't care who it is if it's not Donald Trump. Now, there's also 40 to 45% of people who say, I don't care who the other person is, I must have Donald Trump. So you get to a baseline pretty quickly. Those people in the middle, I think, are interesting in that one of the good things about Donald Trump being able to dominate the news cycle is that unique talent to do that more than any president in, I think, American history. I mean, he can dominate a news cycle, but it tires people out. And when you're in a situation where you have a global pandemic and all of these other things, if he looks like he's handled these things really well when it comes to November, then I think he's got a real chance. If it looks like, if people have this impression that he's done this bad job or has been incompetent in his handling of this one big crisis he's had to face, not to mention the other ones going on, I think it's going to be really difficult. One of the reasons why, and this is separate a little bit, but it's like, the whole thing about masks and taking all these precautions and not rushing to open, I understand it completely from a personal liberty standpoint. I understand it completely from the standpoint of just like, you know what, I don't think they work, or whatever your personal opinion is. From a political standpoint, I don't understand it at all. Why wouldn't you take every precaution necessary? Even if you thought it was a 1% chance it would make things better, to keep this situation, if it's out of control in November, Donald Trump probably has no chance to win. So why wouldn't we do everything we possibly could if you are a person who thinks Donald Trump it would be the better?
Now, let me interject some things here, because they're missing a lot of things. One is not only the power of his personality and the power of the news cycle, the power of the media, but the media is going to say that COVID-19 is out of control. They're going to lie. But a lot of conservatives know that's a lie. It's not going to affect the political side of their voting at all. What we've got to worry about is the independents and those that are non-decided. How much are they going to be persuaded by the media? Think about that. As bad as Biden is, how much are they going to be persuaded by the media? Because a lot of these people are brainless. They're not into the facts. They're not into our freedoms. They're not into their responsibilities for civic freedoms and justice. Now, there are some that are, but there are way too many that are just irresponsible. When it comes to being educated, being find out what's really going on, and voting on more fact than emotion. There's too many that just pure vote on emotion. Way outnumbers anything else. And that's unfortunate. That's why we're in the mess we're in. And the political masters of the media know this is why they push emotional crap, because it's more powerful than intellectual. Sorry, it's the sad truth. It's Roger Mark from Billings, Montana. I believe Trump is still going to win by a large margin. If he doesn't, it's going to be because of voter fraud, and I'm not changing from it. And it's going to be because of bad media coverage and bad emotional crap that they're going to come up with. We have yet to see what they're going to come up with in September. The key months are going to be September and October. in the beginning of November, but September and October are going to show what the media is really going to do. Maybe a little bit of August. Mark my words, it's coming. We'll see what happens. If it goes a very worst scenario and it doesn't make it in, it's because of false media, bad media, and voting fraud with mail-in and election fraud that is going on with Electoral College. We never talk about the voting fraud that goes on with Electoral College, but it's bad enough. Mail-in lies, but it's also bad with Electoral College voting fraud. I don't think it's as bad as mail fraud, but I think it still exists, and no one talks about it. Good day.